Amsterdam, a city that speaks through its silence, where the streets are a blend of the past and future, and the smell of earth after rain is carried by the wind. And in a park on the edge of this city, where the trees turn from yellow to brown, sits a man on the same bench every day, Adrien Leclerc. Who is Adrien? He is 35 years old. His brown, slightly messy hair falls across his forehead. His blue eyes carry a deep, indescribable sadness. He was once the owner of paintings displayed in major art galleries. A graduate of Amsterdam University's Faculty of Fine Arts with honors, he had made a name for himself in many international exhibitions as a painter. But now, every day, he is the one who scribbles in a sketchbook at the same spot, because his legs no longer carry him. Adrien became confined to a wheelchair after a car accident 3 years ago. And that day, he didn't just lose his legs. In a way, he lost his connection to life itself. But the cause of the accident was not ordinary carelessness. His mother, the only person Adrien was truly connected to in life. That night when the phone rang, it was 2:17 a.m. His mother had suffered a heart attack. Without thinking, Adrien jumped into his car. It was raining. The streets were empty, but his heart was filled with panic. As he tried to reach the hospital, he lost control while turning at an intersection. The car flipped. When he opened his eyes, he was in the hospital, in the intensive care unit, unable to move. His mother, she became the only person he couldn't say goodbye to before it was too late. From that day on, Adrien's paintings changed. Vivid colors gave way to pale shades of gray. There was a sense of emptiness in his work now, because there was an unfinished story inside him. Who is Isabelle? Isabelle Duval. She is 28 years old. Her wavy chestnut hair reaches down to her chin. Her bright green eyes have a way of reaching deep into people, even without a word. People often mistake her light for naivety, but she is one of those who have seen life's darkest side. She lost her brother to leukemia at a young age, and her family was torn apart by the pain. But Isabelle used that devastation to bring hope to other lives. Now she works at a volunteer center in Amsterdam. She supports people with disabilities, the elderly, and the homeless. Every day she tries to fill in the gaps of someone else's life. And one morning as she leaves the center, her path leads her to that park. Under the trees, a man quietly sketches something in his notebook, drawing her attention. As everyone else passes by quickly, Isabelle stops. It's that day when she first meets Adrien. At first glance, she thinks he is just a painter, but over time she realizes that man seems to have fallen out of a painting, the hero of an unfinished story. When Isabelle first saw Adrien, she had only thought of him as a man making a painting. She had thought it was just a coincidence, something she would forget in a few weeks. But every morning, Adrien, sitting on that same bench in the park, sketching in his notebook, had caused Isabelle to notice an emptiness within herself. One morning, Isabelle saw Adrien sitting again on the corner of the park bench. This time, she sat next to him. Adrien briefly hesitated, meeting her gaze for a moment, but then turned his eyes back to his notebook and continued to scribble. Isabelle said, "Hello," but Adrien didn't respond. That was his way. Every day he would make eye contact with hundreds of people, but he would never speak to a single one, until that day. But Isabelle didn't give up. She focused her eyes on Adrien's drawings. The pages of his notebook carried the dark corners of life, portraits of a world shaped by sorrow. Each sketch was filled with a sense of something missing, an unfinished feeling. Isabelle realized that these weren't just pictures, but reflections of Adrien's inner world. "Very beautiful, but something's missing," Isabelle whispered, gently glancing at the drawing. Adrien slightly lifted his head. Isabelle's words surprised him for a moment, but then he turned his eyes back to his drawing. "Missing?" he muttered, as if he didn't want to speak. Isabelle, however, smiled and continued. "Yes, it should be more alive. I can feel it. You feel it too, don't you?" Although Adrien didn't fully agree with Isabelle's words, the trust he felt toward her somehow began to fill that emotional emptiness inside him. At that moment, the change he felt in Isabelle's presence was something he had never experienced before. The very presence of this woman had begun to reflect in his drawings. For a week, Isabelle visited Adrien every day. Each time she would offer small comments about his paintings, suggesting ideas about the colors and shapes of his drawings. At first, Adrian just listened quietly and kept his distance. But slowly, Isabelle's words were offering him a glimpse into another world. One day, Isabelle boldly asked, "Adrian, why do you draw your legs, but never draw a picture of yourself standing?" Adrian was silent for a moment. He took a deep breath, then slightly tilted his head. "Because that's not me," he said. The deep sadness in his voice touched Isabelle's heart. "But maybe one day I could be," he added, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. For the first time, he was thinking about changing something. He saw it in Isabelle's eyes. Her love was giving him the courage to start over. A week later, Isabelle made a suggestion to Adrian. "Let's create a painting together. Something like you, something that tells your story, but not a painting without your legs, with all the pieces." There was great fear inside Adrian, because that painting, in a way, meant accepting his own shortcomings, his losses. But the trust in Isabelle's eyes gave him the courage to take that step. That day, they began to paint together in the park. Adrian tried something he had never drawn before, himself as a whole. With Isabelle's support, he slowly started by drawing his legs, and then he began to create the figure of a man running. At the center of the painting was Adrian's smiling face. In that moment, Adrian felt complete for the first time in his life. The transformation inside Adrian was becoming more evident in every drawing he made. However, this wasn't just limited to changes in the paintings. Isabelle was guiding him not just in his drawings, but also in reshaping his life. With each passing day, Adrian's courage to overcome his obstacles was growing. With Isabelle by his side, a power was emerging that was reshaping not just his legs, but his life as a whole. Faith and miracle. Through the time spent with Adrian, Isabelle began to realize that he was not just a disabled man, but a warrior of life. However, Adrian had survived the accident, but surviving didn't mean truly living. Isabelle knew that he needed to heal, not just physically, but emotionally as well. One day, Isabelle boldly made a suggestion to Adrian. "I need to do more to help you. Maybe the only thing I can give you is faith, but I truly believe in it. I want you to walk again. I believe we can make it happen." At first, Adrian saw Isabelle's words as a glimmer of hope, but the darkness inside him was preventing his healing. Not being able to feel his legs was a reality he was starting to accept more each day. But Isabelle found a light in that darkness. She believed they could succeed together. Isabelle seized every opportunity to show her belief in Adrian. Every morning, she spent hours doing research, trying to reach out to the best doctors from around the world. Months of efforts only strengthened her unwavering determination. She tried every possible route to offer Adrian more medical solutions and therapies. Many doctors said Adrian's recovery was nearly impossible. What they said seemed, in Isabelle's eyes, not an obstacle, but a challenge. Each time she encountered more hopelessness, Isabelle's faith only grew stronger. She ran from one doctor to another, from one treatment method to the next. Every time they said, "This would be a miracle," Isabelle became even more motivated. Day by day, she put more effort into convincing Adrian that a miracle was possible. At times, Adrian thought Isabelle's efforts were going unreciprocated, but Isabelle never gave up. Patiently, she transferred her love and hopes to him. No matter what treatment method they tried, the results were always the same. Adrian's legs still didn't work, but Isabelle's love, faith, and the time she spent with him every day began to initiate a change in Adrian's spirit. One morning, Isabelle suggested a new treatment to Adrian: hydrotherapy. This was a method that could help revive his muscles. Adrian thought about giving up again, but Isabelle encouraged him once more. "You just have to try one more time. I will be by your side. I'll take every step with you. We'll do this together." Adrian, this time seeing the sharp determination in Isabelle's eyes, agreed to try another path. Isabelle motivated him every day. During each therapy session, she encouraged him, helping him discover his inner strength. And step by step, every small progress moved Adrian further away from despair. One day after a hydrotherapy session, Adrian took another step. At first, it was just a few centimeters, but that step was perhaps the most important one of his life. When Isabelle hugged him, happiness and pride shone in her eyes. "See? We did it," Isabelle said. And Adrian, with tears in his eyes but feeling the power within him, hugged her back. "Yes, but we did it because of you. I'm indebted to your love and faith." At that moment, Adrien truly felt the power of Isabelle's love. Without her trust, love, determination, and patience, perhaps this miracle would have never come to be. As the days passed, Adrien's steps began to increase slowly but steadily. After months of struggle, Adrien finally set aside his wheelchair and started standing on his own feet. It was a physical miracle, but for Isabelle, the real miracle was that Adrien was able to truly build a life he believed in. Isabelle's love and effort not only transformed Adrien, but also her own life. Their bond grew so strong that, in fact, they became the ones reshaping each other's lives, each other's strength and love. Adrien no longer needed the wheelchair. His legs felt as if they had been reborn. Thanks to Isabelle's love, patience, and constant support, he was able to continue his life with increasing strength each day. But this was not just a physical recovery. Adrien had changed internally as well. In his eyes, one could see that life was not just about existing, but a chance to be rebuilt every single day. As Isabelle watched Adrien take a few more steps each day, she was so happy that nothing else seemed to matter. Adrien's life, once surrounded by dark shadows, was now filled with brightness and hope. One morning, Adrien walked toward Isabelle, asking her to hold his hand. Isabelle, surprised but joyful, rushed to his side. "Adrien, what are you doing?" Isabelle asked, her eyes filled with a mix of impatience and joy. "I want to show you something," Adrien said. At that moment, for the first time, he took a step on his own feet. Isabelle's eyes filled with tears. Adrien walked all the way to the bench where they had met in the park. A few years ago, he had prayed every day just to be able to walk to that bench, but that day, with Isabelle's faith in him, he had reached that bench by simply walking. Adrien sat down on the edge of the bench and turned to Isabelle. There was love and gratitude in his eyes. "We did it. We really did it, Isabelle. With you, with your faith." Isabelle stood in front of Adrien and smiled. The love inside her grew stronger every day. Their love for each other had not only come from the dark days of the past, but from this journey, from this miraculous transformation. Isabelle tightly held Adrien's hand and looked into his eyes. "I will be by your side forever," she said. In that moment, they both knew what was possible, because life sometimes didn't require a miracle, but faith and love. Adrien, thanks to the strength he drew from Isabelle's love, had slowly begun to find life again with each passing day. The healing process had not only allowed him to recover physically, but it had also led to a rebirth within his soul. Isabelle's love had given him the chance to discover a side of himself he had never seen before. They had accomplished it together. Through their trust, love, and commitment to each other, they were no longer living their lives as a half-finished story, but as a completed and strong relationship. As the days went by, every step Adrien took in his life felt like a celebration. He continued to walk slowly, but with steady confidence. With his inner strength reborn, Adrien had become a man who would never give up. One morning, as Isabelle and Adrien walked through the park, Isabelle gently whispered to him, "Did you see? Life only changes with a single step. Everything begins anew." Adrien smiled, took a deep breath, and realized that the steps they would take together on the path ahead would be endless. In that moment, not only his legs, but his soul had been reborn. Everything had become possible through the power of love. Isabelle's unwavering support had helped him overcome every obstacle. Love had healed not only his heart, but his body as well. Adrien, without taking his eyes off Isabelle's, thought about how transformative love truly was. Love was a force that healed everything, could mend every wound, and bring every heart back to life. For him, obstacles were now just stones to step over. Because as long as he didn't lose love and hope, nothing was impossible. And together, with slow but steady steps, they moved forward each day, a little further with the power of love. With the love they felt for each other, they knew that everything could be rebuilt and every wound could be healed. Life had become a miracle for them, and they experienced that miracle anew with every step. In the end, love healed everything. If you like this story, don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe for more content.